In this week's episode, the fellows engage in an intense discussion about the progress of Project 2025 amid the backdrop of the recent shooting of Charlie Kirk. They elaborate on the thoughts about Kirk's extreme right-wing views and the subsequent media and political reactions. Throughout the discourse, they touch on broader issues such as the rise of fascism, systematic racism, and political divisiveness. They also express concerns about the execution and implications of Project 2025 on American democracy and the potential for civil unrest. The conversation underscores their frustration with current leadership, and as always, they emphasize the need for maintaining democratic principles. Hey, what's going on, Keith?
Hey, what's going on, TC?
Not much. What's going on, Mike Miller?
Hey, Mr. Tom Corley, Mr. Keith Pickens, how you guys doing?
Good, sir.
Yeah. I know we had scheduled to talk about Project 2025 to get an idea of where it was at in the progress. And I know at this point it's close to 50% being implemented. But with the things that happened last week, in particular, the shooting of Charlie Kirk, I just wanted to talk to you guys and see what you were thinking days later.
Okay.
Mike Miller, I know you've been active in the group chat. What's been going through your mind?
First of all, I didn't know much about him.
Here.
Not like I was a follower that close of the right wing. Yeah,
Right wing,
you know,
correct.
with the far right wing opinions. But I had no idea that this guy was going around spouting what he was expounding. And just like I said, it happened. What kills me the most, and
No
you know,
pun
I said,
intended.
no pun intended. Make it make sense. That's what I said. Make it make sense. It is what it is. This is a supremacist. He had some very strong opinions on race, and he expressed them very eloquently. So I'm going to express my opinion about him. I didn't like him from the research that I did. I didn't like him. It is what it is. A white guy shot another white guy in the whitest place in America on a white campus surrounded by white people, and black colleges and universities and black individuals all around the country get death threats and bomb threats. And that's why I said, make that make sense. Nobody black had anything to do with this.
Not one.
Nobody liberal had anything to do with this.
Not so far that they've been able to report.
The guy was a conservative guy from a conservative family. He didn't agree with Charlie Kirk, and he saw his opportunity, and he did what he wanted to do. So that was an internal thing that had nothing to do with anybody else. This blaming liberals and we're going after black people and this, that, and the other. People had nothing to do with it. The most marginalized groups get the backlash. Typical fascist, typical playbook for a fascist.
Yeah.
Something happens, go after other people you hate,
Anyway.
people that had nothing to do with it. That's really where I'm at with that. I'll grieve. If I wanted to grieve for him, I would. I don't like anybody to have to be, that to happen to anybody. We didn't always live in a country like that. We lived in a country where we had political differences and we had strong opinions, but at the end of the day, we went home and we had dinner.
Right.
And we watched our show and we got up the next day. He went back to work. This one side is made as our way or the highway. And when there's backlash, they act, oh, look, it's you all, it's you all. You're doing this, you're doing that. Malcolm said it a long time ago. America's chickens coming home to roost.
I knew that's where you were going with that.
Mhm.
I didn't make this up.
No, he didn't.
I'm just stating fact. Who does like it? Anybody to be killed. Yeah, we want to all express our political opinions and not have to worry about being killed because of it. But obviously, we're not in that country anymore. This is something different. This is something we're going to have to adjust to and prepare for.
I feel for the family, the people
Right.
involved, all the way around. The young man, his family, Charlie Kirk and his family, his wife and his two kids. I feel for them. No one should be removed from the planet just based on what they believe. Yeah, not in a democracy. Having said that, I don't know why he's been elevated to warrant flags of half-staff, half mast. I don't understand why they're not looking at it as a murder. I'm not sure I understand why they're not consider this a school shooting. It happened on the university campus. If the kids at Michigan State who were shot, those were just shootings. And I don't remember the president going all out and being so involved with a shooting so early without all the evidence, speaking out like the way he's speaking out.
Yeah,
And I don't remember him saying anything about the Minnesota Speaker of the House and her husband being shot at their home.
He didn't
He
say
didn't say
anything.
anything positive, I can tell you that. And his comments were more negative or more apathetic, but to me they were more negative.
Yeah.
He said Minnesota's, quote, a mess. It's a mess, unquote. He said, why would I say anything? That's a mess. I
He
saw
said, why
that.
should I? He said, I'm not going to reach
why
out to
should
that
I?
governor. Why should
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I? Yeah.
There's no compassion coming from the White House in regards to this. I take that back. He's doing some kind of dance for the Kirk family and for the mega followers.
Right.
But as far as true compassion, he's not showing any of that in any instance.
Well,
So,
for the Kirk incident, you mean before any prior to that?
yeah.
And if you're not affiliated or associated with the MAGA movement or a Trump follower and or agree with basically everything he says and does, then he's going to be lacking in compassion. He doesn't care about people who doesn't agree with him on every issue, no matter what that issue is. In regards to Kirk and how I feel, like both of you, I have very little or limited knowledge about the gentleman. I'm going to say gentleman, but a lot of the things he espoused does not really hold true to the word in terms of him being a gentleman or a gentle person. Because based on things I've seen, some I had to pause and think, is this AI or Facebook and the media?
Yeah.
You can't necessarily believe everything you read because there's so much misinformation and so many untruths out there. But a lot of the things that I read were fact-checked. And things that he espoused were racist. He did not care about people who looked like the three of us by any stretch of the imagination. Some of our heroes, he strongly denigrated Martin Luther King. He talked about Michelle Obama. He talked about the current Supreme Court justice in terms of them being DEI hires, even though they graduated with honors from institutions of higher learning, Harvard, Yale, and so forth. Apparently he went to college and flunked out or quit after the first or second semester. I don't want to make that a truth, but the facts of the matter is he did drop out. He didn't complete college. And I know one of the things he's espoused was colleges are totally unnecessary, as he sat on colleges trying to influence the students there. The right wing has always been, or most recently been, about conspiracy theories. I have one of sorts, and it may not bear itself out, but we're living in such an extreme, paranoid, divisive society. I'm almost inclined to think that Charlie Kirk may be the wick. And when I say the wick, I mean like a candle. And they're just one strike away from inciting something because who knows? They're so quick to point to they in terms of the murder, or they're trying to make it plural, murderers. I could turn the finger back and say maybe it was one of you guys who incited this by having him killed. I know that's far-fetched. You can talk with conspiracy theory. And in so doing, now you're lifting and raising him up to make a symbol of martyrdom and hatred from this guy. In fact, his wife, in her grieving, and it didn't sound like grieving when she had her speech, talked about taking on a mantle and doing even more than Charlie did and doing it with that much more rigor. And here's a spouse who's supposed to be grieving, and yet her grieving is, we're going to take it up a notch. We're going to incite more hatred. We're going to espouse more racism. So when you speak about a person like that, typically, to you guys' point, just a campus shooting, that's a murder that happened at an institution of higher learning. We should all be concerned about it. But we should also be careful not to point fingers in advance of information that's yet to come out in totality. And right now, it's a mess. And I see it the way I've been seeing it for years past, prior to his current presidency and back into his first presidency. I just see it. He's got so much hatred in him for people who are not like him that he would almost do anything to incite a riot that's going to cause people of color to go up against Caucasian people. He's the racist in chief, as Mike would put it, or the fascist in chief, however you want to look at it. And I think that in a lot of ways, not that this guy Charlie was a puppet, but he was somebody that they could hang their hat on because he was espousing a lot of the beliefs that they have. And now they want to go to war because they took him out, which we don't know who the they is, but they're presuming that it's left-wing folk. And we all know, as Mike said, and as has been reported, this guy's from Utah. He's a white guy. He got shot on a white campus, and there was nobody of color probably even nearby when it happened. I think it's another one of those things that's being trumped up, no pun intended. I think that whole administration, and if you take that back to the Project 2025, I think this is a product of some of the things being espoused in Project 25. Not directly, but just by way of how they're trying to do things.
I totally agree with that. But let me ask this question. The whole handling of it from the FBI, actually, let me back up for a second. How do you think Governor Cox had handled it?
With grace. He did it in a way that was presidential.
Yeah.
Because even though it happened, and he's a Republican governor,
yes,
correct?
He is.
Okay.
Correct.
For us to find some peace in this opportunity, because if we don't, it could get even worse than what it currently is. And so he spoke in a way that the current president should have been speaking, as opposed to saying, hey, it was somebody left wing. We got to beat the hell out of them. I'm not quoting directly, but more or less these are what Trump was saying. But the governor, he was a exemplary politician in that regard, as far as I'm concerned. He said all the right things.
Right. I think what you were leading up to, Keith, about the mega people getting riled up, I think that's something that's going to come out of this. I think, like you said, the WIC. I hate to agree with Mike Miller.
Mike. Mike has a lot of wisdom, Tom. You should all agree with Mike.
You know, in regards to him saying that I'm not sure it's going to be an election. And I'm tending to believe the whole part of this Project 2025 is to get to that point, to not have an election, to have him continue to rule or run the country.
Absolutely.
The executive branch has made so many different changes here to the point where he has that freedom to do whatever, whenever he wants to do something without any pushback.
We speak to this every time we get together and talk because, again, I've said it once, I've said it twice, and I'll continue to shout it from the rooftop. Once Congress conceded their authority or their power, they gave it up for Donald Trump, and now he does essentially what he wants. When it comes to the courts having to put their 2 cents in, which they're supposed to also be a branch that keeps everything in check, they've conceded to him. And when the federal courts have found him guilty or doing wrong, and he bumps it up to the Supreme Court, essentially they say, you know what, he does have the authority. We're not going to make a decision on this, in effect saying what you did was okay. We're not going to stop what you're doing. We're at a point where if you take it further, once they start doing this congressional redistricting, ensuring themselves additional seats to always have a majority, we will have a problem. And whether it's him or another Republican figure, Tom, it'll be a single party that's ruling because they'll always be dominant in the 3 branches of the legislature.
Right.
So what I heard about Project 2025 was that wasn't designed specifically for Trump so much as it was designed for the next Republican ruler or president as a playbook.
Right.
And a lot of that was making sure that whoever that president was, unfortunately it's Trump right now, whoever that president was would be able to get so much power and authority that it would be hard to relieve him of that duty or not transition to another Republican Party because the deck has been stacked that way. And so
I think that the label they gave him was Unitarian in the writing. I think that's what the person's title was, Unitarian. And that's the person, like you said, whether it was Trump or not, it was going to be a Republican figure in that position.
Exactly.
And they would use the term Unitarian, I believe, as a person who was going to be running the show.
Okay.
But we go back to Charlie Kirk for a second.
I didn't mean to digress, but it's all tied in.
The things he was saying on these campuses and the rhetoric, I guess you would say that's basically what it is, espousing things of a conservative side, but also things that really didn't have to do with people who were in politics. I mean, like having Michelle Obama as part of his conversation and Martin Luther King part of his conversation. Mike, when you were looking at videos, what did you see and what did you hear that stood out to you that is the playbook of 2025?
I can't say it all stood out, put it that way. It all stood out to me. But that's part of fascism is racism. They're one and the same because all fascists believe in a superior race, and they are going to, he said, denigrate anything black, anything not them, anything that they didn't come up with. It could be you discovered water was wet. They'll say, oh, no, we don't like wet water. We just be against what the black person said. They just don't care. And then they'll come up, oh, you know what? We discovered that water was wet. We discovered that before the black person. They love to rewrite history, and that's part of the playbook. All of it stood out. All of it is appalling. The playbook is nothing short of what we've already seen happen on this planet before. And when I talk to people, I bring this up in generality, everybody seems to have the same general consensus that it is going to blow. This something that's going to happen. Luckily, so far, it has not been us. He's pushing. He wants one of us to pull the trigger first. I'm proud, black people. Don't pull that trigger. Don't do it. Unless you absolutely have to. Because he's going to try to make you do it over nothing. Mm-hmm. And we got to be careful because Tom said, we are leading up to a no midterms, not being able to vote next year. And he's going to use anything. In my mind, he's going to say, you know what? We've made so many changes. I'm the only one that can run this.
That's how he's going to sell it. That's
right,
how he'll sell it.
Yeah, Thank you.
That's
right.
how he'll sell it. When you think about what's going on in Israel, that's what Netanyahu is doing right now.
Yes.
Got them thinking administration will get all the Hamas and whoever else is against Israel. And so in some kind of way, Trump is going to paint that same picture here in America fairly quickly and say the same thing about martial law and whatever else he needs to do to get that done. But okay, so going back to Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk. I'm saying run away.
I understand he's friends with the vice president, but he's supposedly friends with the Trump family.
Correct.
The conversations have been going on now, and I don't know how true it was. They're saying he was like a family member. He spoke at both conventions, RNC conventions, but he got escorted home on Air Force Two. Vice president did a spot on his podcast or hosted his podcast.
Hosted it today,
today or something like that.
Continue with the rhetoric of they need to basically more or less and that the powers that be to do something to wipe out the left-wing people who are responsible for this in all such issues regarding taking out public officials and anything that's anti-Republican. And essentially what they're saying is we want to, in effect, wipe out the Democratic Party if we can.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's beyond parties now, though?
Do I think what's going on is beyond party?
The labels of the parties, in particular, the Republican Party is not the Republican Party of the old.
It's the Trump Party. It's the MAGA Party.
Yeah.
But I don't think that makes it beyond parties. I think that trying to address it so far is beyond parties. In other words, the left doesn't have an answer for what's going on. That playbook was so slick, they worked it out. But no, I don't think it's beyond parties, because if I embrace the notion that it's beyond parties, then that means we're going to give into that single party thought process, which means that love it or not, we got to support it. And I'm not ready to embrace authoritarianism. I'm not. So I think that there's still some fight left in the populace. I just think that there's got to be a way to get it done at some point. And I pray, really, because like you guys, I don't want to see anybody get killed, whether it's Charlie Kirk or anybody else. But at some point, there's going to be a powder keg. It's going to explode. And I don't want to see any more people. I don't want to see anybody, okay? So don't misunderstand me. But I've seen our race go through so much through the years in terms of just being beaten and downcast and abused. I know that we're going to have to be a part of the fight, unfortunately. I just don't want the fight to be construed as because of us. Because then you might have liberals look at themselves in the mirror and be mindful of who they really are. Thank God that during the time of Dr. Martin Luther King, you had white folks who were liberal, compassionate, and really Christians in the sake of, in the manner of what Christians are supposed to be, kind and loving and so forth. But it's tough to imagine that where this is not going to come to a head. I think you or Mike said a couple of podcasts ago about Civil War. The whole notion of Civil War is just frightening. Not that I'm scared and trembling in my boots, but it's such a divisive way to live. And now you look at somebody who was your friend, and it's hard to see them as your friend because you just don't know what their allegiance is going to be. Are they going to look in the mirror and say, I'm cool with Keith, I'm cool with Tom? Hey, I'm standing with, hey. And would it even make sense for them to stand with us, even if they wanted to? What is it going to come down to? Is it going to be a race thing or a political thing, or both?
I saw a TED Talk not too long ago. It was probably a few years back. That said that it was a white guy and he was talking about racism. One of the things he quoted as a stat was 20% of white America kind of followed Martin Luther King.
Oh, I believe that.
To get the civil rights bill taken care of, I just would assume, as far as America is concerned, we probably needed a higher number. But to have 20% only and get that done, I guess it says a lot.
But if you had people in power, if it was just 20% per se, people who was voiceless and powerless, then no. But when you had figures in power who could make a difference, like right now, literally the Republican congressmen are mute on every issue.
Right.
I think back then, even as bad as it was, you still had some who had a sense of conscience who would still stand up and say, that's not right. They looked at right and wrong and they voted on the side of right. They've said, you know what? I know we're here to represent our people, but you represent us, Mr. President. So whatever you want to do, you can do it. And that's not the way our system is supposed to work.
No, it's not. You all brought up a lot of stuff there. That was a lot.
Unravel it, Mike.
Wow. Our democracy depends on all of us participating. I might not like what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Who said those words?
They're definitely familiar.
Wasn't that Patrick Henry, if I'm not mistaken? And that's what a democracy is. I don't have to like what the other side says, but they have the right to say it. And I hate
Kirk.
to say it.
Charlie
right.
Kirk. He
Charlie
had the right
Kirk.
to say
I don't
it.
like what he says, but here's the deal. I'll defend to the death his right to say it, but he won't defend to the death my right to say what I have to say. And
Correct.
That's the difference. That's where the Republican Party has gone completely off kilter. John McCain was the last moral compass of everything you guys said is absolutely true, up until the point where McCain died, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. No more moral compass. The Republican Party is nothing more than a bunch of criminals. If you ask me, the Crips and the Bloods are a political party now. The essays are a political party. Why would I say that?
Please explain it for our listeners.
Right. I understand. I'm being facetious here, but hear me out. The Republican Party broke into Watergate because Nixon knew he could not win without doing a criminal act. Democrats have never broken in, never committed a criminal act against the Republican Party.
I'll just offer up that we know of.
Believe me, if they had done it, you better believe that Republicans would bring that up. Believe they would bring it up.
Maybe they didn't have a Woodward and Bernstein.
No, look what happened to the Federal Reserve lady. Come to find out, and this is the information that I got. I could be wrong, but this is the information that I found out today. On that second mortgage application, she did list it as a vacation home.
Okay.
So, a convicted felon, convicted of 34 counts of felony financial fraud, tells a Federal Reserve person, oh, we can't have you on the Federal Reserve because you committed fraud, with no proof of any of that. And has now launched an FBI investigation. They said, no. On that second application, she put down that was a vacation home. All of this is for naught.
And let's face it, if they had a motto, it would be the party of hypocrisy.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Keith.
It's the party of hypocrisy, because no one in the party holds up the mirror to really see their own reflection. When one man can change the narrative on everything and rewrite history, that's telling you they don't want to know the truth, or they can't handle the truth.
But there's a bigger problem looming on the horizon, much bigger problem than this. And he's doing everything he can to do what he has to do in the United States, because outside the United States, he looks like a piece of manure. The bottom line.
Back to Charlie Kirk.
Back to Charlie Kirk. It's the truth. The rest of the world is no longer dealing with us. They're not now. But yeah, you're right. Back to Charlie Kirk.
How do you feel with the label of assassination?
It was a school shooting.
So he was murdered.
Yes, he was murdered.
Now, I had to look up the definition of assassination. I was curious. Does this meet those qualifications? It looked like it was changed.
It
was changed. Huh?
Uh-huh.
It may have been.
Yeah, I have a dictionary, a paper.
Right.
I have a bound copy of a dictionary. I have to go back and take a look at it and see if it matches up with what they're trying to say on the internet. Mm-hmm. But today, on the internet, as it states today, it does qualify because he was not political figure. He was what was the word?
Public figure?
Used? Yeah, public figure, in a sense.
Okay.
Not that it matters whether or not assassination or murder, but I was just curious what you guys are thinking, because a lot of conversations are going on about that.
The guy is deceased, okay?
Yes.
So you could say Rio, you could say Rio. I think where the hypocrisy comes in is that when you elevate this guy to heroic status and he hasn't done anything heroic, okay? When you suggest that the Republican is the truth and everybody else is a lie. So because he espoused the principles that you firmly believe in, he's somebody that's a martyr. He died for the cause, whatever that cause may be. And so as a consequence, we're going to say he was assassinated. We're going to fly flags at half staff. We're going to go pick him up on Air Force 2 or whatever they call the plane. Yeah. We're going to participate in the burial. We're going to praise his wife. Next year, there'll be a holiday. I don't know that for sure, okay? But it's just the hypocrisy that drives all the ire of the people, because if he was consistent, if he did that for the other potential shooting, other potential assassinations, okay, the shootings, the other actual political figures, if he shows some compassion, and then you could say, oh, he's consistent. Prior presidents, because they don't want to see this country go amok and everybody just be violent towards one another. But
now, we've had, not to cut you off, Keith, but we've had a number of school shootings. And has he spoke to that? Has he spoke to those?
Yeah. He didn't. No.
Or if he has, Tom, maybe I missed him the news cycle. He did. He said you shouted from the rooftop like he's doing with this particular situation, because he wants to make it an issue that's going to further divide us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And he capitalizes on being divisive. That's how he was elected the first time. That's how he proceeded as a president the first time. That's how he got elected this time. And we know he's very divisive now, because any black person in a high-ranking position, he has moved as fast, and within 7 months, not even a year, not even 2 years.
Yeah.
You look at people that were in high-ranking positions, and if you were black and or female, there were some white females too, particularly if you were liberal. But if you were black, he was getting rid of you. And so that in itself is divisive. You can't tell me you're not a racist, but every time you focus on somebody, it's a black person. You're going into all of the black cities, putting the federal troops into all of the black cities where there's...
Speaking on that, Keith, is he going to reroute the Memphis troops to Utah?
Salt Lake City has a higher crime rate than a lot of other places where he's talking about sending federal troops.
Why would a hypocrite do the right thing? He hasn't put federal troops in any red state.
Yeah.
Even though with a crime rate. No. Only where it's a black mayor.
Yep. To that point, Mike, you're right, because there are cities, red state cities, that have higher or just as bad crime rates, and there's no spotlight shown on them. There's no focus. There are no troops. And call it what it is. Call a spade, as they say.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is what it is. Right.
I'm taken aback by all the things that are going on, and the unfortunate situation with Charlie Kirk is a distraction now for America. The focus on his death is not to say that I'm just going to say it. There are other things going on nationally that should not should have more a priority in the news cycle than Charlie
Yeah.
Kirk's whole situation.
It's driving the news
Correct.
cycle.
And I think, again, us podcasters need to, because the mainstream media is not doing it, we need to get back to the fact that this Project 2025 is being implemented right up under our noses, and we're going to miss the opportunity. We've already missed the opportunity.
We've already missed it.
We already missed the opportunity. But now they're working on a plan for the courts. Now, what the plan is, I have no idea which direction it's going to go in. Are they going to silence the court or give the court more power? I have no idea what the conversation is, but I heard there is a plan in works for a Project 2025 for the courts. Because right now they're dealing with the executive branch. So now they're going over to the judicial side.
You mean the Supreme Court?
Already had the Supreme Court wrapped up.
Yeah,
I don't know what the plan is, but there's a strategy being written up for a plan to handle the courts. I don't know the details of it. It was a high level that I saw taking place.
Well, one thing that I saw today was that the Senate, I believe it was the Senate, introducing the bill about these confirmations of presidential appointees.
Okay.
They have to be vetted through Congress
They should be, right.
individually.
That's a sham, but you're right.
What they want to do is, if he has 10 people he wants to appoint to positions, they want to just appoint them all at the same time and with very little vetting, if any. The big thing is the minority party cannot raise any objections. So in other words, whoever the president says, that's what we're going to put in, and you can't say anything about it.
But even Mike, now, correct me if I'm wrong, even if they, for the record, say something, it's just for the record, because isn't it the majority that makes the decision? When you look at all of the hires that Trump has had so far, they weren't qualified. You and I know they weren't qualified, yet they were able to get through committee. So I don't think they got through committee as a result of the liberals who were looking at him with open eyes, knowing that he didn't have the qualifications. I think that when the Republicans seated their votes, it didn't matter, because even when one or two Republicans would raise an eyebrow, I don't know, but then they back off and everybody gets pushed through. That's why I say it's a shame.
Yeah,
Robert Kennedy got pushed through.
He doesn't have medical first. He can't even spell physician.
Does he even have a degree? He seems so
know,
ignorant. So really, again, it's about how the deck has been stacked. And I think 2025 is doing everything that it can to make sure, because he's putting people in positions where even if he leaves office, they're in positions of authority. Now, that being said, if you're going to allow this president to have this power beyond what most presidents should have, then if by chance a liberal, independent, whether it be independent, moderate, a Democratic president gets in office, then can he or she wipe the slate clean based on the fact that now they can just put an executive order in place to remove and place it in a position anybody they want? Because you're opening up a can of worms. This is a guy that's the president now, but if somehow or another the left wing, the left side determine a way to get around this, to circumvent this, or people, even some people who are Republicans, decide to vote against Republicans during the next cycle, and you get a liberal in there, it's not gonna become undone overnight. But in terms of putting people in positions of authority, you can just swing the other way. Now you've already let the genie out of the bottle. You're giving the president more power than he has ever had.
We said the magic word, vote.
Right.
There's no vote. He's not worried about voting.
Yeah.
That's why
He's
they're
talking
going to continue
He's talking
to do
about
what they're
counts.
doing.
You're talking about the counts. That's what you're talking about, Keith, in Congress. You're talking about the counts. Those votes.
But to Mike's point, you got to still vote them in and vote them out.
Right. Any more voting? No. Don't y'all get it? Look, no voting, no more. Even if there was voting.
I just got my new voting card in the mail, man. What you talking about?
Even if there was some semblance of voting, it's not going to be what you think. They have this thing to the point where either it's rigged in their favor or you don't vote at all.
That's true.
That's what it is. Either it's rigged in their favor or you don't vote at all.
That's how it feels.
Trump has those 2028 hats out already. He's building a new ballroom.
What do the hats say, Mike?
It says his name in 2028.
Oh, really?
Yes.
he likes to get under people's skin.
Right.
But he
And
true,
make money.
and make money. That's true. But again, he's not worried about leaving office.
That's true.
He's not worried about
Okay,
it.
based on what you're talking about, and what Keith was talking about earlier about the wick, I think that the keg, I guess we'd call it, is if we do have an election and it's a challenge election, some people are saying they're not accepting the vote or whatever the case may be. Somebody saying that someone cheated or some state cheated or something like that for a Senate seat or whatever the case may be. I think that will be the match to the wick. I think because people are going to step up and say, okay, I don't believe you won.
True.
And then that may be the thing that sets people off violently.
Yeah.
Not just words. I think people are going to take up arms in some kind of way, take a stance.
Yeah.
You already crawled out over the Capitol like roaches on January 6th when they didn't believe that.
Yeah, but now I think that's
right.
going to happen at a state level because this is
You're correct.
the 2-year election, not the 4-year election.
Right.
And I
Right.
think
Think about-
it's going to happen on capitals across the country.
The thing about it, there's nothing to hold them back. And when I say that, what I mean is if the fascist in chief has decided that if you're on the left, you're wrong, and on the right, you're right. And before you could say, hey, look, we have people in high places who would say, no, we need to squash this. We need to push these
Tone it
people
down.
back. We need to put these people in prison. Now you got somebody who's just going to say, you know what? It is what it is. And as long as our side is winning, that's all that matters. He's already said he wants to beat the hell out of the left wingers, Mike, based on Charlie Kirk being killed
Right,
or murdered.
right.
What would
That's
he
exciting.
do if the votes didn't go his way, or if the candidates that he support don't get voted in? It could get ugly, and we're just
Yeah.
projecting. My prayer is that things will be peaceful and that this too shall pass. But you got to be prepared for the what if.
Unfortunately, none of us want to do that. All thought growing up, we'd get to this portion of our lives and things would be somewhat peaceful. That we wouldn't have these problems, put it that way. We wouldn't have problems about elections, and the most secure elections ever in the history of the country are being called crooked. This is not normal.
We used to hear the expression, we're headed towards a perfect union. And unfortunately, because that meant freedom for everybody, literally, regardless of color or whether your sex or your sexual preference, there was freedom. And that's where we were headed. And Trump said, you know what, we're going to dial that back. I'm going back to the 50s. I saw something today where they said, based on 2025, the ideal is to, and he didn't inject color at all. But he said the ideal is to have a household where the husband is the breadwinner, the wife is at home, taking care of the kids, and there wouldn't be any transgender definitions, nor would there be any acknowledged marriages. Things would go back to the way it was in the 50s.
Yeah, put it back in the closet.
In other words, if you're not like us, your rights don't matter. If you don't agree with us, your rights don't matter.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the goals behind 2025.
Right.
Essentially, that's
You
what
did-
they're trying to do.
Very eloquently, Keith. Very eloquently, yes.
So
Thanks,
here's
man.
the thing that I noticed in taking a look at that is that if you pretty much wrote a chapter in that Project 2025, there you were selected to oversee that area. Pam Bondi, she wrote a chapter. She got her position.
Yeah.
The Office of Budget and Management, the person who wrote that, he's got a position in Office
He's a
of Budget
repeat.
Management.
He was in his first administration. He was in a part of the Office of Management and Budget. But to your point, he did write a big piece of that
Yeah.
2020 Project 2025.
And so the other thing that kind of surprised me, there was quite a few women who wrote chapters, and they seemed to be okay with the direction that the plan is going, in particular with the Roe versus Wade decision reversal.
They seemed okay with the commander-in-chief, who was sexist,
Yeah.
And we say racist a lot, but he's definitely
He's sexist,
sexist.
too.
And a good friend of, what's the guy they're trying to hold
Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And a partner in crime.
Yeah.
What if that old expression, birds of a feather that flock together? There were similar birds. During his first administration, when the Bush guy got in trouble for laughing about his comments about grabbing women's genitalia, he made it plain that he could do that and get away with it because of who he is. And at that point, back to what you were saying, yeah, I'm not surprised that women, Caucasian women particularly, support him, because maybe some of them will relish the fact of being able to stay home and care for their kids while their husbands are the breadwinners. And when I say that, I'm not speaking of everyone, because I don't like to put everybody under the pink with the same brush.
Right.
But when you're looking at those who support what he's doing, we're not blind and we're not deaf. We see what he's doing. We see what he's done. We hear what he's saying, and we've heard what he's said. So
Yeah.
the one thing he did lie about was he knew nothing about Project 2025.
Yeah. That's a big Pinocchio nose situation.
And I say lies about everything.
Yeah. Right.
To legislate society of what you think an entire country should be, like Keith was saying, that's not going to work. Human beings go in one direction, and that's forward. We don't go backwards. We may take a step back sometimes, but we go forward. Time moves forward. What he's trying to do is going to just cause violence, because people do not go backwards.
Mike,
I know I'm not going back.
I hear what you're saying, but it's too late.
No.
The train has left the station.
No, you can't.
But it's not too late time.
It's not too late time.
I disagree. I
No.
totally disagree. Think about it. All
It's
those
too
things.
late for what?
2025, 47% of it is completed.
Correct. I'm not saying that's not going to be. I'm not saying that they're not going to achieve on paper the goals that they're trying to achieve.
Right.
But in reality, there'll be bloodshed. So the bottom line is, are we going to stay and fight, or are we going to run, leave the country?
Right.
That's the way. At this point, I see the choices just as clearly as the Jewish people saw those choices in 1939. Those that were smart got out. Those that were holding out hope, no, he won't do this, I'm just going to keep doing and praying it, you got slaughtered. That's the bottom line. Nation building always has been and always will be bloody and brutal. Look at what Israel is doing in Gaza. That's bloody and brutal. They're building a new nation over there.
Yeah, dude.
And they're
Bloody
going to
and brutal.
bloodily and brutally massacre all them people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. No, we're not. And that's the peace that we've enjoyed in this land, because we all wanted to keep that stuff away from us. What has happened here is basically apartheid. We've allowed a minority of people to take over our government. It comes right down to the DNA, right down to what you were saying, Keith, right down to a person's DNA. Your DNA inside, that's who you are. Your DNA is who you are, whether you consciously say, I support black people and I don't want to see them killed, but when these bullets start flying, I'm not going to save any black people, because I'm going to be killed if I do that. You get it?
Yeah.
Right.
But that
Just like the Germans who tried to save the Jews.
Yeah, that's
Same
a
thing.
great analogy, Mike.
My neighbors love me. I love my neighbors.
Yeah.
But if these militias come walking down the street and say, oh, black people live here, are my neighbors going to defend me? No. They're not going to. Oh, no. And if they do say it, they're going to get taken away too.
Yeah.
They're going to say, anybody else want a hug? And they look around at the rest of the people. If you supported somebody, they say, now, they take you away in front of everybody. And they say, anybody else want a hug? Everybody shut up. That's what's going to happen here. At the point where he says, okay, clear these neighborhoods out. I love my neighbors. We are more alike than we are different.
For sure.
And that's true all over the world. People are more alike than they are different. But we're at a point in this country where they don't want to hear how much we are alike. They would rather expound on the differences and kill because of it.
I was watching the news yesterday, and there's a senator, a sitting senator. He's either senator or congressman. but he's in our legislature, in the U.S. legislature. She had a speech. I can't remember if it was a podcast or open speech.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically,
it's a senator, and it was an open speech.
and specifically, he was saying that this country was always for white people, essentially. And his family came here, so he made an exception. Other than that, he said, this is our right. They were never supposed to have our jobs. This has always been created with us, white people, in mind. And so we should not make any apologies. And he's saying that would be something that you would whisper in meetings or at the bar or something.
They were saying sometimes you catch that on a hot mic.
On a hot mic even.
Yeah.
But he's so blatant. He stood in front of people and basically said, you know what? I guess maybe Charlie Kirk on steroids, I don't know. But he essentially said this country is for them, meaning not us, and that they should make no apologies about the direction it's going in. And not only that, any rights should be specifically and only for them, Caucasians.
You have got to be kidding. This is the first time I've heard this.
You a senator.
I hear this. And see, I'm just getting angrier sitting here talking to you guys. See?
And his constituents should be calling for his head.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. Even if he doesn't get another position, he'll be the head of the local or the national Ku Klux Klan. They won't call it that anymore, but it'll be the same effect. You can believe right now they're mobilizing. They're mobilizing right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So for somebody to be that blatant and bold to say that without shame, there's some things going on.
He knows something.
Right. I'm just going to say it. Some of these Democrats smiling in your face, they don't want you there neither.
Yeah.
Know some. I seen some. I had one stop at my house.
Yeah.
Woo!
You got to
You have no idea how mad I was about that. Because Democrat, but she don't like me, even though I voted for her. But even though my uncles, the only reason she's alive, the only reason that any of us are alive is because of what happened in World War II. They don't want to teach that, because if they taught what happened in World War II, it would change a whole lot of opinion. Yeah. Nobody, because the exact people we defeated in World War II now permeate this country.
But Mike, we are 2 generations from that? So people,
that's why they say it takes 2 generations to completely forget about everything that you did would be completely forgotten.
Heaven forbid if you change the narrative.
So that's why it's important to teach it. That's why the Jewish community has a Holocaust museum, so people would never forget.
Never forget.
Right. We have to do the same thing.
We're not even having, I don't want to say conversations, but we don't have historical perspective on 9/11 in our schools. I don't think it's being taught.
Well,
what is this, an aside on the day that if you're having to be in school, maybe they do something special, but they really don't delve into it to teach them about it?
No. It's shameful. There's a generation of people who are not familiar with it at all.
Yeah.
Imagine not being familiar with what we went through in Middle Passage and slavery, period. And the fact that we built this country on our back.
Yeah.
They're going to whitewash that.
Yeah.
Right.
When the story is retold, it's going to be, we came over here, we volunteered for those jobs, and we did it happily.
Yeah, we like being beaten by Mossad. Oh, my God. What is this?
When they whitewash the story, it's going to be so far from the truth, it won't be funny.
Mm-hmm. So what is that? The Project 19, what is that?
I heard something. Is that the Democrats' response?
The one that they,
but somebody wrote a book prior to all this. Does that give a historical perspective on Black people? Or is that something?
I haven't read it, but apparently it was a great book. I'm embarrassed to say it because I can't remember her name, but she was a powerful author. Yeah. And she was on a couple of weeks ago. She was on a TV show. She's super intellectual.
Yeah.
And she wrote this. We have to look into it.
We make that a conversation for ourselves.
We need to get a copy.
Yeah.
Historical perspective, from what I understand.
Yeah, same here.
And it tied into the teaching in schools, of slavery. And when they say, oh, no, we can't teach this anymore. What were they calling it back then? Critical race theory.
All right, Nicole Hanna?
Yes, sounds right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole Hanna Jones.
Yeah.
What did I say, 1916?
Yeah. And I was putting 1969 in my Google to try to fact. So I think I was close, but 1619, okay.
Yeah, the harsh truths of Black experience.
Correct. Right.
Nicole
they don't
Hannah
like that.
Jones.
Yeah.
They don't like truth. I keep getting this from these people. They don't want the kids to feel bad about them.
Oh yeah.
The kids see, because like you said, racism is a learned behavior. The kids see this and they look at their parents and say, well, is this how you acted? And the grandparents, is this how you acted? Wow. So
True.
they have to be taught that all black people are bad. But they got black friends that don't.
Yeah.
They grow up with black friends, and all of a sudden, they're not their friend anymore because of the color of their skin. Their parents said, no, that's not your friend.
And to think in 2025, that's still going on.
That's what is, that's beyond scary. Thought by this time, it would be less of that. Nope, it's not less, it's more. I don't know why I don't have any more answers. This is above my security clearance. That's the solution.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say. All I can do is take care of me. But what I'm not going to do is fight for people that don't want to fight for themselves. My message, if we had a Save the Children portion of this, my message to the kids is stop shooting each other. Especially, how are you at 12 and 13 years old getting access to guns that I don't even have one of them guns? I'm 63 years old. And they got access to all these guns. I have no idea how to get one of them guns other than to go to the local police department, get my paperwork, store, and do it the proper thing. They can go down to the corner. Hey, man, I need one of them guns. Wow.
Well, today
Stop shooting each other.
Today, some agency stopped a kid who was 12 or 13 years old. They had photos of an arsenal.
Sure.
Yeah, I assumed he was a white kid. I didn't think whether he was black or not.
It could have been a white.
Yeah.
My point is, where are they getting such easy access to all these guns?
A lot of times,
stop shooting each other. Stop shooting, man.
At the risk of stereotyping, a lot in Caucasian households and some black households, for the sake of education per se, you have kids who you expose to guns at an early age so that they know how to handle them, that they're not afraid of them, that if they're in your household, they understand and respect and appreciate gun safety. And so the thing that's important that I know in the cities, the law enforcement, they focus on gun safety and they give away locks. Even if they don't sell them, they give them away. And so they encourage you. Yeah, they encourage you to come in, and they don't even try to pin you down and say, is this gun legal or not? They don't even, the most important thing is not whether the gun is legal or not or how you came about the firearm. You should, if you're going to have it, secure it, particularly if you have children in your home. So the access a lot of times can be negligence. It could be like the kid here that ended up killing people, I think in Oxford. His parents literally went out and bought the gun for him.
Right.
They wanted it. That didn't send a sign to them that maybe he was going to use it for protection or even a massacre. Sometimes it's just common sense, and a lot of times it's the parents having to be responsible. If you're gonna expose your kids, then you also have to teach them every facet, which includes being respectful of a firearm and the safety aspect of it. So the Second Amendment that they rally so much about, there's no way to reel it in. So anybody who wants a firearm can get it. What we're dealing with is the NRA and whomever else fighting for that to continue to purchase and have firearms.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to give up. Like that commercial says, never, ever stop being American.
I haven't seen it, but I believe it.
Yeah, it's not about guns.
Okay.
I can't remember what product they're talking about, but American means having a gun.
Having a gun.
That is the second. You're not going to take that away. No, sir.
Back to Kirk. That was one of his things. He fought for it. He had no empathy for people who were murdered as a result of guns.
He said a few gun deaths were worth it.
He said it was worth it. And lo and behold, the chickens do come home to roost.
To roost. That's okay. All right. But again, didn't no liberal do that. That was your own people from your own place, and your own everything. But we got to do something. We got to beat the hell out the liberals.
Yeah.
Hold up, player.
Hold up.
Right. Hold up. This is no longer democracy. If you're not going to defend my right to say what I want to say, then we no longer have democracy. Because if I defend your right to say it, whether I agree with you or not, I'll defend your right to say what you have to say in a democracy. Because at the end of the day, you're going to go home and have your dinner and watch your show. I'm going to come home and watch my show.
Okay.
That's what I've been
Okay.
watching lately.
Okay.
But we all love the right to have whatever religion we want. I can have my barbecue next to my Jewish neighbor and they're cooking, next to the Muslim neighbor and they're cooking whatever they're cooking. And
You're assuming you're allowed in that neighborhood.
I'm assuming there's a neighborhood with that wide range. That's not right next to virtually
You
each other.
said that right.
But
Yeah.
in concept,
Concept.
what America is about, we all want the same thing: live in peace and not be bothered by anybody else's crap.
That's the operative word, peace.
Right. Peace.
And
right.
to your
I'm
point-
not gonna bother you. You don't bother me.
You can say
You
what
know,
you
it's
want
all
to say.
right.
That don't mean you
Right.
can do what you want to do.
You know,
there
we
should
can
be laws
agree
regulating those things.
To disagree.
Right.
Look at, I can't remember what state that was, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. The black guy decided instead of fighting him, he invited him over to his house for dinner. And dude actually showed up. And over time, these two actually became friends. And the Grand Wizard, not only did he resign from being the Grand Wizard of the cake, he said he was wrong. He said, I was absolutely wrong because the people are the same.
They are the same. But Mike, was that an
Everywhere you
episode
go.
of Alien
No,
World you were looking
no,
at?
This was in real life.
I
And not
believe
only
it.
that, other members of the case also, I can't remember what state that was in, other members did the same thing. They said they were wrong. That hatred of another race simply because they are a different color is wrong.
It's wrong.
They are the same as you. They
Mm-hmm.
go to work, raise their kids, enjoy their family, worship God. What is it that is so repulsive?
The problem is they teach entitlement. If I have something, then that means if I have it and you don't have it, I must be keeping you from having it.
Huh?
Whether it be a job
Thank you,
or
Keith.
an
Thank you.
opportunity or so. It's the
Right.
entitlement piece that makes it really bad. And shame on you because essentially you have a leg up, considering where slaves came from, right? You had nothing. And yet
Right.
we still
You end up
rise.
with more than them.
And
Right.
so that's the shame of it all. I know we've digressed, Thomas.
We always do.
But take it where you want to take it, my brother.
We
You
can
know,
wrap
it's-
it up
it's-
here.
It's good conversation.
We can try to wrap it up.
Can I get a fade before I go, though?
A fade?
Yeah, I had a nice haircut. We are in the barber shop. You tighten my beard up? Or
Yeah.
something?
That's crazy. That went over my head.
I know. It flew over. I'm always going to take it back to barbershop talk.
I
Yeah, I mean, we're
appreciate that.
keeping it on that level. We're not trying to go super intellectual. We just espousing what we believe. It's
I
all
know
good.
Mike said a couple of things.
You had to
Find
edit some of that out.
sponsors. We lose our credibility talking
Mike
about
is on-
aliens on the show.
Mike is on
But that
point.
is a show. Alien Earth is a good show. I'm trying to It's a good show.
I may have to take a look at it. Alien Earth.
Comes on Hulu. Check it out.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
All right.
As
thanks.
always.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Have a
Hey,
good
Mike,
week.
have fun. Have
All
fun on the
right,
west
have
side of the
fun.
state.
Go and enjoy the
Tom, take care of those babies.
All right, I will.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
That's all the time we have this week. Be sure to hit the follow button to receive a notification when we upload a new episode. To learn more about today's topics, go to the show description. You can text us. Join us every week by becoming a subscriber on your favorite streaming service. If you enjoy our podcast, become a supporter. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the What's Going On podcast.